Hello there, welcome to another episode of yet another project showcase. This time around I want to show you my latest project. I work with this alongside other 4 members, a great team. I couldn't have done this without them. So I want to mention them are Cissian Heider, Nicolas Gonzalez, Leonardo Albornoz, and Jose Abel. I will leave links to their websites or GitHub profiles in the description, so please check their work. They are awesome. Okay, now let's get started into the showcase. As you can see now, this is a RentUrTech application. It's a website that allows users to rent technology for a specific amount of days. You can find here different kind of technologies: powerful PC, Oculus, touchscreen gloves, home theaters, well, different technology equipment that can be useful for a company to, use. All of this is fake, of course. This is just a website displaying fake information. But the intention is that. Okay, so you can notice that I can hide the sidebar, and it increases the size of the elements displayed in the page, which makes this a responsive website. You can notice how everything changes, displays a specific amount of equipment depending on the size of the page, and at some point, specifically when you get into the mobile version, you notice that now the sidebar no longer affects the view, but rather overflows on it. You see, it gets over it, right? So it has that responsiveness too. This part of the site is public, so I am not logged in. I'm able to see it, which will make sense for which will make sense for a user that is coming to a website for the first time. They first want to see what they could use, right? So they can access the page, they can access the equipment, they can read the description of it, they can see, for example, how much does it cost to rent it, how many days can they rent it, right? And of course, this is just a mock-up website, right? There is some functionality that is not available just yet. This is following a design that was provided alongside the requirements. You can find more info about it on the README file of this project. Okay, so now let's say, for example, that you want to actually reserve one of these equipment. Right, you can either press this button here, which will take you to the reservations page of that specific equipment, or you can click in here and try to select it. But since right now I'm not a user, when I try to go here, it will ask me to log in, right? So, well, let's do that. I'm not sure if I have this user now. Oh well, as you can notice, the credentials are invalid at that point. Let me try to use this one. Okay, this one was the password. The user gets feedback, immediate feedback, with Toastify about the login status of the application. This is working alongside a Ruby on Rails API that is hosted on Heroku apart. It's on a different server. And this part of the website, the frontend that we are currently seeing, is made with React and Redux. It's been styled with SCSS preprocessor. The frontend team was more in charge of this task. Okay, so now that we are logged in, we are able to actually manipulate these other parts of the website. So we can now select a technology, and you can see it like an immediate feedback behind the screen, right? Like the type of technology I'm selecting and what is it that I'm trying to reserve. Now let's select a city, for example Vancouver, and a reservation date. As you can notice now, there are some days that are on grade, right? This means that these days have already been reserved, right? And the duration is 5 days. So I can notice, for example, that I will not be able to reserve this date because it requires 5 days, but it is just not complete. So for example, if I try to reserve now, it will say that the reserved date is not available. I'm gonna start to go a little bit further, maybe some other day in the future, like on August. And let's click on August 10 right now. Let's try to book it. And okay, we successfully booked this reservation for that specific day. So now the powerful PC has been reserved on August 10 and a duration of 5 days, and the total expense is $1,000. Well, and details. You can see, check the reservations page where I can manipulate my reservations, basically just cancel them when I no longer need them, right? And that updates it anywhere. And as I told you before, you can select one specific piece of equipment and also click on reservation. You will no longer have the button to select a technology because you are already there, and you are able to reserve this from here as well. Okay, I'm back. Alright, now let's continue with the showcase. Now let's show this screen here and to show you something. Let's say that I am in the reservations page, right? I'm right here. And the website uses a JSON Web Token authentication method. So since we are using that, it expires every now and then, right? Every day, every 24 hours. So in the authorization token, when we send that information to the frontend stores it in the local storage and stores the ID of the user, the name, the role, and the username, right? The token here, as you can see, is the one that allows the user to either access the reservations or make reservations. So now if I invalidate the token, right, if I for some reason expires, the token expires, well, no, actually I think I need to modify it from here. Yeah, if the token expires, right now I'm gonna delete a part of it just to validate it. The token expires and I'm in the page. If I try to make an action on it, it will take me out and it will tell me that the session has expired and that I need to log in again. So we provide that kind of feedback. Okay, so we have to log in and sign up as well. Okay, it turns out that just when I thought that I was finished, I forgot that myself was right here below, just hiding all the Toastify messages, so you cannot actually see it. So, well, you are encouraged to test the app. That will be awesome. But just to show you basically how it looks, I will mess up my password again, and so you can see the message here below. This is what I was talking about when I mentioned Toastify. This is the direct feedback that the user received, and I'm sorry that I didn't showcase that during the project showcase. It was a mistake on my end. So you can see most of all the project messages are here, all the interactions. So please test the app so you can notice how it works. And again, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit new to this. Now this is the page for a regular user that is interacting with the app, right? But what if you are an administrator, right? How do you add technology to your website so that people can interact with and make reservations from? So for that we have the role in the sorry, the user. Each user has a role, as you might notice in the local storage. And if the role of the user is administrator, then they can interact with additional features of the application. So now if I enter as an admin, I'm able to add technology here to this equipment page, and I will be able to remove technology as well. So well, let's start by adding something. Let's say a PS4. Let's add a description of a PS4. Let me actually look for it real quick. Notice that this has validations. I link to a video review of this. So the administrator is the one that will do this, right? So they have to look for the content themselves, and it's less likely for them to sabotage themselves. In any case, we still provide some validations to avoid that. So the description has to be longer than 100 characters. The title has to be longer than, I think it's 3 characters. Minimum is 3 characters, I don't remember. And we provide all those sort of validations. This is duration specified in days. So let's say that we can rent it for 3 days. The rent fee will be $50. And the total amount, if you want to buy it, let's say that it is $1,200. I don't know how much is it valuated right now. And now let's look for a PS4. Let's look for a console image. The setup of the page is using active storage to store the images, right? It uses Rails active storage. And additionally, in order to use it on production, to use it on site, right, online, we set it up with Amazon Web Services with a S3 bucket, and this bucket will store all the images in there. So whenever you actually click on it, it will call a link in Amazon Web Services, redirecting the image from there. And it's set up to only be used by the backend API. So the backend API is the only one who has permission to use these images. So if you try to access it from the outside, they will not work. Okay, I'm back. I've downloaded the file now, the PS4 file. Let's try to actually choose it over here, PS4. And let's try to add the equipment now. And it will say that the description is too short. Okay, I screw up. It has 200 characters, not 100. My bad. Like the user gets a direct feedback when they do something wrong. So they can actually know what they have to do better in order to successfully create an equipment, right? We want to provide good feedback to the user. Now, equipment created successfully, which means that we can actually now see it on the text page. You see the PS4 now, and you see the whole information of it. Okay, coming in, I didn't notice that during the showcase of the delete equipment, an Spotify ad just passed by, so that doesn't quite look good. So let me try to go over it again. Yeah, okay, we have the delete screen, which is a countable screen where you can pick how many rows per table you want to see, or switch tables based on the quantity of elements that you have. And well, you are able to delete equipment from here. Here is the message from Tostify when the equipment is successfully deleted. All these messages that we're receiving here from Tostify come directly from the API, right? These are the responses that we get when we successfully interact with the applications. What does this mean? This means that the API can be successfully integrated in any other applications as long as the cross-origin is set up to work like that, right? It is an API that is online, basically. And actually you can check in the README file of the backend, like inside the README file of the frontend, you can find a link to the README file of the backend. You can find the documentation of the API. Well, actually, let me show you real quick. So you can find the documentation here. It's made with Postman, with all the information about the user, the equipment, and the reservations, actions, and the messages that you will get depending on the body that you send with the application, right? So you can see different kind of responses with proper arguments, with no authentication, so you can handle the errors based on that, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. That's pretty much how it is. Let's say, for example, that right now let's say that I'm a regular user. I log in with John Title again. Let's say that now the user knows about technology, right? The user knows about this, the local storage. And if we find out that you can change the role to be admin here, in order to, let's reload the page now, in order to have access to the additional tabs, right? Because this is handled by the frontend. But now let's see what happens if they try to remove a technology without actually being an admin. The session is marked as expired, and they request to log in again because they modify something that they were not supposed to modify. Why is this happening? Well, it's the handle error in the side of the backend. The backend is the one that checks through the authorization token the value of the role, like inside their own server. So even if you change it here, you are not able to actually manipulate the data of the frontend because the backend already takes care of the validation, and they will say, no, this is not the user, this is not authorized, and it will raise an error that will be considered here as a session error, and the user will be requested to log in again. And now if you check the local storage, well, there is no out data, so you have to log in again. So the data is protected by both sides, the front end and the back end, in order to avoid the user to do something that is not supposed to do, right? And well, this is pretty much the showcase. This one was the largest one so far. Well, this is a big project. There was 5 people on it. So again, thank you so much to my partners who were with me during the development of this project. And please check their profiles below. They are awesome people, and I'm pretty sure they will be a great fit for any company. So well, that's enough with the salute, and until next time.